Boyle's law says that if the temperature is held constant, then the volume V of a fixed quantity of gas is inversely proportional to the pressure P. That is, V is equal to K divided by P for some constant K. What happens to the volume if the pressure triples? Well, if the pressure triples, then the new pressure will be 3 times P. So what we're going to do is to substitute 3 times P for P in our original formula. And then we'll try to determine what happens to the volume V. We get K divided by 3P. Now comparing this with our original expression, we notice that we have K in the numerator, we've got P in the denominator, but we have this extra 3 in the denominator. So what we want to do is to recall that dividing by 3 is the same as multiplying by 1/3. And we rewrite this expression as 1/3 times K over P. Now K over P is just equal to V, so we substitute V in its place. So when the pressure triples, we see that the volume is multiplied by 1/3. In other words, the volume is 1/3 of what it was originally. For part B, we want to determine what happens to the volume if the pressure is multiplied by N. So we're going to do this the same as we did for part A, but instead of substituting 3P for P, we'll substitute NP for P. We get K over NP, but K over NP is the same as 1 over N times K over P. We recall that K over P is the original volume, so we substitute V for K over P. So we see that when the pressure is multiplied by N, the volume becomes 1 over N of what it was originally. For part C, we want to see what happens to the volume if the pressure is halved. To cut something in half, we can divide by 2. So what we'll do is we'll substitute P divided by 2 for P. Dividing by P over 2 is equivalent to multiplying by 2 over P. And we can rewrite this as 2 times K over P. But once again, K over P represents the original volume, so we end up with 2 times V. So when the pressure is halved, the volume is doubled. Finally, for part D, we want to determine what happens to the volume if the pressure is divided by N. So we'll substitute P divided by N for P and then simplify. Dividing by P over N is the same as multiplying by N over P. Now we can rewrite this as N times K over P. But K over P is just V, so we end up with N times V. So the volume becomes N times what it was initially.